Hallo, hallo, hallo. Herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Ausgabe von Show of Stories, die Sendung zur Ausstellung im MAC. Wir befinden uns heute in einer ganz speziellen Location. Wir sind im wunderbaren, genialen Park. Neben mir die beiden Gründer und Besitzer Markus und Helmut. Ich schaue herum, ich sehe viele verschiedene Modedesigner.
Ja.
Wie viele sind denn da bei euch?
Es werden so zwischen 20 und 30 sein. Ich habe es jetzt nicht wirklich durchgezählt, aber es ist sehr bunt gemischt irgendwie. Und was man dazu sagen muss, wir führen eigentlich wirklich nur Marken, die uns wirklich am Herzen liegen. Also ich bin ja jemand beim Einkauf, ich kaufe nur Sachen ein, die mir gefallen, weil sonst könnte ich es nicht authentisch weiterverkaufen. Und ich glaube, dass das die Kunden auch sehr schätzen bei uns.
Gibt es welche, die ihr auch schon ganz lang dabei habt? So, die von Anfang an schon, die
eben
immer noch...
zum Beispiel den Christian Meiners, mit dem ich in Antwerpen zusammen studiert habe. Einige Marken, die wir von Anfang an haben. Aber natürlich ist es auch immer gut, wenn ein bisschen ein Wechsel ist. Also es gibt dann schon irgendwie zwischendurch, muss ja so ein Laden auch interessant bleiben und es muss ja immer wieder was Neues auch kommen.
Ich bin ja auch von euch gedresst worden, heute
Ja,
in einem
super
unfassbar tollen Dress.
Ja.
Wie heißt der Designer?
Peter Petrov.
Ah, ihr habt hier ein bisschen unterschiedliche Rollen. Helmut?
Ja, man könnte eigentlich sagen, Markus ist on the front und ich bin in the back meistens. Also ich mache alles, was an Verwaltungsarbeit zu tun ist, von Buchhaltung über Pressearbeit bis Kommunikation mit den Lieferanten und bin manchmal halt dann schon im Shop, wenn
Ja, selten eher.
ein Mann ist, aber...
Und du suchst aus und kuratierst.
Wir sind beide in Paris, wir suchen beide aus, aber der Helmut ist eher ein bisschen der Finanzminister, der schaut, dass es nicht irgendwie zu übertrieben wird und ich bin ja natürlich schon eher derjenige, der dann aussucht, aber wir sprechen uns schon ab. Also wenn der Helmut was ganz scheiße findet oder nicht gut irgendwie, dann glaube ich es ihm. Ja, meistens. Wenigstens.
Na, so weit, so gut.
Ja.
Ich bedanke mich bei euch.
Ja, vielen Dank.
Herzlichen Dank.
Danke dir.
Unsere heutigen Gäste der Sendung, Klaus Mühlbauer, Tomaso Galli und Elisabeth Noever-Ginthör, diskutieren über die wirtschaftlichen Möglichkeiten und Herausforderungen in der heutigen Modeindustrie. Elisabeth Noever-Ginthör ist seit 2014 Abteilungsleiterin des Kreativzentrum der Wirtschaftsagentur in Wien. Die gebürtige Salzburgerin hat Rechtswissenschaften studiert und in Rom einen Lehrgang zu Kunstgeschichte und Kultur absolviert. Seit Übernahme der Leitung von Departures setzte Noever-Ginthör die thematischen Schwerpunkte Social Entrepreneurship im Kreativbereich, Crafted in Vienna, Urban Production in Wien und digitale Realitäten, Virtual and Augmented Reality in der Kreativwirtschaft. Tomaso Galli ist aufgrund seiner langjährigen Arbeit bei führenden Marken einer der renommiertesten Manager in der Mode- und Luxusbranche. Er arbeitete als Direktor für Unternehmenskommunikation bei der Gucci-Gruppe, als Kommunikationsdirektor bei Prada und dann als strategischer Berater für viele Unternehmen, von Armani bis Versace. Heute ist Tomaso Präsident von JTG Consulting, einer Boutique-Firma, die er 2010 gegründet hat und die sich auf Marketing, Image und Markenführung spezialisiert. Klaus Mühlbauer ist Geschäftsführer der Mühlbauer Hutmanufaktur in der 4. Generation. Seit über 100 Jahren gibt es nun das Unternehmen, das Klaus Mühlbauer 2000 von seinem Vater übernommen hat. Zuvor absolvierte er eine Ausbildung zum Hutmacher und legte noch ein Wirtschaftsstudium nach. Heute verlassen bis zu 20.000 Stück pro Jahr die Zentrale. Geliefert wird an rund 200 Händler weltweit. Die Werkstatt in Wien ist ein Garant für die hohe Qualität der Handarbeit. Alles ist made in Austria. Jetzt freue ich mich, an Elisabeth übergeben zu dürfen. Viel Freude beim heutigen Talk.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ankati Koi, for the introduction, and thank you so much, Tomaso Galli and Klaus Mühlbauer, for participating in this talk on the occasion of Show Off, the first comprehensive show here in Vienna on Austrian fashion design. I'm Elisabeth Noever. I'm working with the Vienna Business Agency since 15 years. We are funding and promoting creative companies here in Vienna, ranging from architects to designers, music labels, the art market, multimedia, games, publishing houses, and also the fashion scene. With this talk, we want to address the current situation, of course, in doing fashion business and kind of what could be the future of fashion business abroad, globally, but also here in Vienna. It's so great to have Tomaso Galli here from Amsterdam today, but a global player in the fashion scene, and Klaus Mühlbauer from Vienna, leading a company, a traditional company, which exists since 1903, and he leads it in the fourth generation. So this kind of introducing these worlds is very, very good today. Currently, here in Vienna, 17,000 companies are working in the creative industries. Most of them are small and mid-sized structured. And of course, we're struck by COVID-19 enormously. The clubs were shut down, the music scene first a lot, the museums are closed, and so were most of the fashion shops. So we learn, or we test currently new forms of learning and of working and doing business. Alessandro Michele, the creative director of Gucci, published a manifesto during COVID-19 in which he stated that the schedule and the value of creation should become in the driving, or should get into the driving seat again, and not be driven by the market only. He's talking about a time that is more real and more caring. And yeah, as my first question to you both, I would like to see, can you align with his ideas? Can you reflect on his ideas? What are your opinions? Tomaso, maybe you want to start.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me for this panel, and congratulations for the work that you're doing in Vienna, which is a city that I love and admire for its creativity. Before getting into Alessandro Michele and his statements, which I find extremely interesting and which I kind of agree on mostly, I would like to frame historically where I think we are at the moment. And I see 4 distinct phases. One is the world until early March 2020, where we were already observing a number of trends, a number of things happening that were impacting fashion in a big time. Sustainability and the interest of various brands in sustainability, and some of them doing a lot of greenwashing, but that's another story. We were already into the crisis of the American department store, but not only American, a lot of multi-brand store around the world. We were already seeing a number of things happening, some sort of fatigue for the fashion week. Then we have the second phase, which is between March and June, which is the lockdown, when everybody was forced to be in a condition in which we had never been before. And we experienced a number of things: shock, we were afraid, we were angered by a lot of things. And most importantly, we could not do what we were doing before. And we were forced to think a little bit differently. Now we're going to go through a transition phase from more or less June of this year, which I think is going to go on for at least 18 months. So I think at least until December 2021. And I call this a transition phase. And in this phase, a few things open up again, some museums, the restaurants, stores. There will be some way of presenting collections in different ways. It's going to be a time when a lot of things will happen. There's going to be a lot of experimentation, a lot of trends that were happening before that will become more obvious or less obvious. And then hopefully at the end of 2021, beginning of 22, we'll have a new world and new things which will start to become structures. So in the next 18 months, we're going to see a lot of different things happening. And the truth is that at this moment, nobody really knows what's going to be the world as of 2022, but also what's going to happen in these 18 months. So, what is coming out of this pandemic, we'll see. I think we have a few things that will stay, a few things that won't stay. What I don't think is that the world will all of a sudden become a better place because humanity will become more good. It's not going to happen. You know, the good people were before and will continue to be good people, and bad people will continue to be bad people. I think racists existed before and will continue to exist after. I think capitalism as a way of delivering goods to consumers and running societies will continue more or less in its form after the pandemic and in the new order. But a few things will change. A few things will change, and that's the interesting thing.
I thought it was interesting because he uses this words like real, a time that is more real and more caring. And so I thought it interesting because actually it was like really an unreal time we went through now. So nobody could believe what happened to us. And is this this tension and this fantasy of a caring world. So can you align with this idea, a more caring production, a more caring fashion scene in the sense of climate?
Unfortunately not. I hope for it, but as I said, I don't think people will be more caring as a result of this. I hear a lot of people saying, we're tired with seasons, we're tired with all, drops every 2 seconds, we're tired with the world which is going towards its own destruction. But I think the moment that one brand will start with the drops again, and the drops will work, and other brands will follow. I don't see big investors and entrepreneurs who have groups. I don't see them asking their CEOs of their companies, please keep revenues down next year. Please keep profits down next year and invest more in more sustainable materials. Please try to sell less product next year. And the truth of the matter is that real sustainability comes from less disposable products, less products that people buy and throw away. It is more, beautiful, beautifully made, beautifully crafted, beautifully designed products, such as the ones that we're going to hear about in a few moments, that have been done for generations, slowly, with a lot of attention to detail, with the utmost attention to the best quality materials and the best manufacturing processes. This is what we need more of. We need less of fast fashion. I hope we go towards that kind of world, but my hopes are not substantiated by any facts.
Okay. Klaus, can you align with the ideas? I mean,
Well, some yes, some in some way I see it very similar as Tomaso. Unfortunately, like all these things like caring more or more sustainability or more profoundness, all these things are a big hope and a big wish, but I think it will remain a hope and a wish, because like I was just thinking of one thing which happened like a few weeks ago when we had the reopening of the shutdown. So we were all wishing like a more just world, but what happened immediately, like there was a big sale in all retail facilities, and the first thing we realized after reopening was a battle of prices, So we were talking about even maybe we hope there will be no more sale, no more price reductions, but quite the contrary happened. So yeah, but still we never have to give up hope. But there is one idea of Alessandro Michele which I would really align with and which I really like. This is the idea of getting creation and getting our own work back to the driving seat, which means for me, let's decide about our time schedule by ourselves, and let creation not be pressed in so many market rules. You know, I mean, I know this is quite different from company to company, and especially talking about a big company as, for example, Gucci, and a very small company like Mühlbauer. We are working very differently. We, for example, we do only 2 collections per year, and we take time. We take maybe more time for one collection and for one style, and even we start a new season not in June if we talk about autumn winter, but we really started in September when the weather is a little bit more chilly, for example. Okay. But still, schedules might be different according to the size of the company, but still also we as a small company, we could feel like pressure from the market and getting things done in always the same schedule, and we also would prefer to have a more organic way to work our product and to create our product, and to have more time, and this for me in his manifesto or his speech was maybe the most crucial thing. You know, let's control creation by the designers themselves. Yes.
So you recently came out a new collection entitled also Vienna, and you collaborated with the artist collective Gelatine. You do this collaboration since you took over in 2001. Vienna Fascinators, the heads are called Fascinators. At the same time, you did also a mask collection, Han and San, which allows interaction during COVID-19. And I wonder what that meant for your production process, for your creation process. Did you have to change the team? Did you have to bring other members on board? Could you just describe?
A lot of questions in one question. Well, I try to sort them. Well, first of all, we were massively hit by the coronavirus. I mean, not personally, nobody also in the company in person. We are still all healthy. We never have been infected. But of course, like, how should I say? I mean, socially, economically, we were massively, and business-wise, we were massively hit. We could already feel it in actually in mid of January, the first time when we have been to Paris. That the market all of the sudden got very, very, very slow. A small number of people, customers, buyers, press people came along to the showrooms, to the trade shows, to the exhibitions. The same repeated in March in the ready to wear week, and yeah, it was. So the first thing we felt was a breaking down of our wholesale business, of our international business, and then followed by the shutdown of our shops in Vienna. So as you can imagine, this was a really tragic moment for us. And also, I think we have been in a really shock situation for 2 to 3 weeks.
Mühlbauer has 2 stores in Vienna. Right?
Sorry?
Mühlbauer has 2 stores in Vienna.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have 2 stores, and we have our atelier in the very center of Vienna. And yeah, so, and I personally, the first 3 weeks I was only occupied with managing the crisis, I would say, like with talking permanently to my staff, communicating. I felt like 10 hours on the phone per day. Just to get information, what to do, or how to handle the situation. Then I had a look at our bank account every day, which decreased from plus to minus in a very massive speed. It was really terrible. Yeah. And then maybe after, this was one of your questions.
Yeah.
When I had maybe the first moment to breathe. And when we got back a little bit to control, like then I said, okay, what can we do? Can we do to continue to get some work and to have business and work for my staff? We were starting to develop these two mask styles. Mm. Yeah, and to make it short, I mean, we have been really lucky in this unlucky situation, and these two masks, Han and Soon, as you mentioned, turned out to be a really huge success, and we sold several thousands of them, and with this we could, for the first 3 months at least, so up to end of May, we could really stop the economic breakdown of Mühlbauer, and could almost arrive to a situation as we have been 1 year ago at the same time. So actually, just business-wise, I'm in a way, well, happy is a little bit exaggerated, seeing the situation of the wholesale and the international business, but I'm kind of a little bit reassured and a little bit more quiet now.
Okay, but coming back to my question, you have a team of hat makers, of course, and then doing a mass collection. So this kind of improvisation that COVID triggered also.
Yeah. Well, my main reason why I was inspired to make a mask collection was when I have seen the first masks in Vienna on the street, I was really heavily disappointed. And as I'm a visual person, I said, there must be a means to make it a little bit more attractive, you know. And as you know, I'm a frequent traveler to Japan, and I'm in a way in my visual brain, I have these masked people in front of me, and then I did some mask research in Japan and in South Korea, and just to see what are the most common and the most practical mask types, and then I combined it with very nice fabrics, and we changed pattern and so on. But the thing is, why we did it, we have some sensitivity for the head, you know, and I think this was also the reason why we did it a little bit better than maybe some others, because we are always dealing with the head, yeah, and our area of activity is the head, and we have this is our talent, our corporate talent, if you like, and therefore I think also the masks have been quite successful.
But it was used in Vienna in your production center.
We did it all in Vienna, yes.
Okay.
And you were, yeah, maybe Tomaso didn't talk so long.
Yeah, thank you so much, Claude. We currently get aware that the fashion calendars are changing. New forms of presentations of collection are coming up. The virtual showroom was discussed, as you mentioned before, and maybe it's his high time now. Can you reflect on those new virtual, immersive, digital tools? Will they really change the business, the schedules?
Absolutely. As I said, even before March, there was a lot of discussion about the role and the effectiveness of fashion shows and fashion weeks. What happened during the lockdown is that a lot more time was put into thinking about alternatives. And as physical events cannot happen at the moment, then a lot of people came out with different ideas and solutions. The first one actually was Zegna, who announced a phygital event, which is going to take place in 2-3 weeks now, in about a month. So they said they were the first to say they were not showing according to the calendar. Then followed Saint Laurent by Vaccarello, and then it was the turn of Alessandro Michele. I think everybody will be experimenting in the next 18 months what to do and how to present the collections. The key thing is that presenting the collections for fashion brands will continue to be a key moment, and there will be a lot of experimentation. I think what the first example, the Chanel video showed, was that video, is the only way to do it at the moment because you can't have events. But what everybody agrees is that that was a nice first attempt, but in no way it can substitute the fashion show. And the truth of the matter is that there is nothing that has been defined, nothing that has been proposed that replaces the validity of the fashion show. So we'll see what the next 18 months will bring. If somebody will be able to use virtual reality or artificial intelligence and CG, computer animations, what will work well for some brands. But the truth is that every brand is different, every business model is different, every audience is different, and the shows have a very difficult role because they combine a business-to-business audience when brands are talking to press and buyers, and a business-to-consumer audience, because more and more shows become moments in which brands talk to consumers. I'm not going to name names, but it's easy to, when you look at some of the luxury brands, you look at the evaluation of the awareness that the show generates, the amount of talk, and it used to be the written press, then it became the digital press. Now it's all about the social media. And what people remember out of all that orgy of images is most often not what happens on the catwalk, but what happens on the front row. And so this is what I think a very frustrating phenomenon for designers, because designers put months and months and months of work into producing an amazing story with beautiful handcrafted outfits, and how to present them in the best possible way, and how to synchronize, how to choose the best models to represent that, and their hair and makeup, and the music and the set design and all the different elements that make a fashion show. And then what everybody remembers is that somebody or somebody else was in the front row. And that is what goes around through social media, that I think is kind of sad for the design and the creative world. On the other hand, it's what is happening in the 2020s and is not going away.
But are there any communication strategies? I mean, as Anne-Kathi mentioned, you worked for mostly every big fashion company. Do you have any strategies to go against that, to set the content of fashion again in the focus?
I think every company and every brand will have to do what makes sense for them. So Gucci, for example, at the moment can afford not to show the seasons or during the season. They could decide to show whenever they want. Like any big company, they can, first of all, if you have mostly a retail business and you have a very small wholesale business, then you're selling to yourself and you can do it whenever you want, however you want. If you have a big wholesale business, then you need to count on wholesalers coming to see your collection and buy it. And you cannot pay for them to come to see you whenever it's possible. Now, everybody is experimenting to sell through Zoom or other technologies, and that's working as best as it can for now. But as soon as possible, buyers will want to go back and see and touch the collection. And buyers will have to go to cities where they can buy in an organized fashion. You cannot ask a buyer to go to Milan in June for a brand, and then back in July for another brand, and then in August for another one. And it doesn't work that way. So, I understand that fashion weeks don't appear to be sustainable, but if everybody is going at different times, that's even more unsustainable than having a fashion week. So, we'll see what works and what doesn't work. The key thing is, I was talking recently to some students at university, and emphatically I said, I hope this is the end of marketing and the rebirth of creativity. But that works well as a slogan. But at the end of the day, you know, you need to sell your collection. You need to reach people. You need to do all the things that marketing does. What I mean is, I think that creativity has to lead the way in terms of defining the product. I really loved what Klaus was saying earlier about, you know, we understand the head, we understand the face, and we, you know, he says, what I saw out there was lacking creativity, and I wanted to provide something that is aesthetically more acceptable, more beautiful, more palatable. And because I know this space, I can do it better than others. That is why I think creativity really matters. Then he will need to have somebody in his organization to make sure that that message reaches the potential consumers around the world. And how do you reach, you know, consumers in China? Well, you have to do it through WeChat. And how do you communicate on WeChat? You have to follow rules that marketers know. And what I really hope is that creativity will lead the way in terms of designing aesthetically beautiful products, and done beautifully, done by hands as much as possible, and in a way that does not compromise. But I think marketing will have to follow and help creativity to reach audiences around the world. I think that, you know, the collaboration that Klaus was talking about, he chooses the collaborators because they can support his creativity. They can support his vision for the brand. I hope that all the collaborations will continue to be chosen by the creative vision of the brand, and will not just be a marketing trick to generate a bit of attention. So that is why I think that we need to put more emphasis on creativity, not because marketing is a bad word, but because marketing has to follow and support and generate business for the creative forces, but always hats off to the creatives.
It's interesting, Klaus, you have stores here in Austria, I think 5 in Austria alone. I don't know how many in Europe. Your products are sold in Japan, in Asia, in America, everywhere, worldwide. Personally, I can't imagine to buy a hat without touching it before and trying it on. And the Mühlbauers are very good to tell you, no, not this hat. So when you go into the shop, they really consult you and say, no way. And yes, that fits you. So can you reflect on the relation between online and offline? A bit what it means to your business?
I'm very much Tomaso's opinion. Fashion needs, and also hats, of course, need to be touched, need to be tried. And this is the same case for wholesale as well as for B2C, for the shop customer, for the store customer. And this will never change, I think. I mean, because it's a physical thing, fashion, hats and clothes, and therefore also physical meetings between vendors, buyers, models, and the whole community also will be needed in the future, I'm sure. And of course, at the moment, like the online business has a very strong moment. It had a very strong moment in the last 5 to 10 years, and it will continue to be strong, I think. But I think the curve will flatten, as we said, like the pronunciation we always heard now in the Corona period. Also, the amount, the curve of the increase of sales of the online business will flatten, of course. And I think it will be much more, as it has been already, and as it is right now, it will be even stronger. That there will be, I think, the parallel of traditional retail and of the online business. They will both together, and we can even experience in our own shops, like the situation of, for example, younger people who use our shops not as a traditional shop, they use it as a showroom. They come to the store, they try hats, they take their time, they spend even 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and try the full assortment. And then they go out and say, okay, I will order online.
Think about it.
But, yeah, but on the same time, we have to say, like, we have a slight increase every year in our online business, and we had not by coincidence of this crisis with the virus, we had the best weeks in our online shop ever.
Okay.
Yeah, because people ordered. The most of the masks have been ordered by online.
So shops.
May I ask one question to Tomaso, because this is maybe some point, because we were talking about sustainability. What he thinks would also be of interest for me. Like, do you think the number of, for example, of international events could eventually decrease? Because my impression sometimes is there are so many fashion events in the world that sometimes you get a little bit crazy and disoriented where to go and where to move forward. I always try to get in the situation of a buyer, a young buyer who opens a store and who wants to get merchandise from all over the world. Where to go first? Because in every bigger city you have fashion weeks, you have events, and even in the big fashion hotspots you have even 3 to 4 events per season. Do you think that might be something what could turn out of this these months here?
It's a good question. I think potentially yes. I think every event now will have to prove that their value. Like every brand, everybody has to reprove again their value and their position in the market. And I think that it could be that the end result will be that at some point some fashion events will disappear. And I think what can work is if every city offers something different. And when you look at Milan, Paris, London, and New York, they all offer something different. And when you look at other fashion weeks, they will resist if they will offer something different. For example, Amsterdam, where I'm based, is a key place for denim. And if Amsterdam is the place where everybody has to go to see what's new in denim, then there is a reason for fashion. Copenhagen has taken a very important role on sustainability. And if you know that when you go to Copenhagen, you see what the newest things are in terms of sustainability, then you have a role. If you go to a China Fashion Week and you finally are able to see the amazing talent that is emerging out of China's fashion, then it has a reason to live. But if we find that all the fashion weeks want to be a little bit the same, then they're not going to be sustainable anymore. That's what I think. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen in the next year and a half. What I think is very interesting that you mentioned, and a role that I think will increase its importance is the role of styling. And what the last thing you need when you go to stores is have people who try to stuff you with a lot of product. And when you have stores that are able to offer clients the real service, which is helping you make the best decision with regards to which products to leave the store with. And sometimes it is very honestly, don't buy anything, because there's nothing that suits you here. And that is great. And that is, I think, the same thing that every fashion store should do. Sorry?
They do that.
Yeah, and that is great. And the same thing should happen for eyewear and for any fashion product. So having in the store people who help you style yourself and not just stuff you with products, that I hope will be an interesting development for more fashion brands.
So stores more and more become a place to establish a relationship to the creators, and the creation process itself. You both talked about it before, the change in consumer behavior. Why do, or how do we make our purchase decision, sustainability, the profoundness of the idea, the quality of the product. Will this time we went through now accelerate this process, this change? Tomaso, Klaus.
Klaus, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think more or less we have been talking about this. I'm not sure, but I think, of course, it's the whole subject of sustainability is a really big subject and is inevitable and it's discussed everywhere. But and so the future will be about sustainability. And for example, a company like Mühlbauer, we live it since, I don't know, 100 years almost, and we lived it we lived it before this word was even kind of existing, and my message is I hope it will be more in the future, and also the consumer will care more about it. But sometimes the reality turns out to be a little bit disappointing in this way. So as I mentioned the example before, like the first things we realized we experienced after the reopening of stores after the shutdown was a battle of prices in the retail market. You know, not only in the fashion industry but in all kind of industries. And yeah, and this is quite the contrary of what we are all, at least more conscious people, what we all want and what we all strive for, and therefore, yeah, I hope this will get even stronger, this subject.
Yeah, I think personally, first of all, I've been saddened to see a lot of greenwashing happening in the last couple of years. When you see fashion brands that promote their fashion show saying that a percentage of what is on the catwalk is sustainable, and we all know how much is sold out of a fashion show, it means that a very small percentage of what they do is sustainable and all the rest is not. When you see so many initiatives about sustainable products, that all means that a lot of companies are trying to portray themselves as greener. And that is actually a disservice to sustainability. The other key thing is, I think the value proposition of fashion was already facing challenges before the pandemic. When so much product, and Klaus was alluding to that, but when so much product, even for high-level fashion brands, is sold in outlets, in promotions, in Black Fridays and Singles Days and all the rest of it, and markdowns at the end of the season, when so many brands are producing for the outlets, that is luxury at a discount, which to me equals no luxury. So being inundated by products is the contrary of what sustainability is all about. I still remember, when my father died, I inherited some beautiful cashmere sweaters that he had, actually one of them he had from his father. To me, that is sustainability. When you have something which is a product that you love to wear, it is so well made, has a longevity, and you don't have to just use it 3-4 times and then throw it away, but you have something that you can keep for a very long time. And I see hats like an investment, a beautiful hat you can keep for your life. You don't have to throw it away. That is, to me, the real sustainability, but also is investing in new materials that might be more sustainable than others. And we all know that anything which is coming from animals has issues. And the more we use, the more we have an impact on the planet. Even if we treat those animals great, even if, even if we do all our best to be as sustainable as we can. but it's like eating meat or not eating meat. Eating meat has a big impact on the planet. Okay. So we need to know that all of that has an impact on sustainability. And so personally, I hope, but I am not completely optimistic.
Completely optimistic. Klaus, you were talking about it, like COVID kind of slowly, after COVID-19, slowly the shops could open again, and then sale, everywhere sale. So is this also a miss of solidarity, of communication throughout the fashion scene, throughout the fashion stores? In my opinion, Mühlbauer was, we mentioned it before, you're collaborating with artists, photographers since long, but you also worked as a platform for young designers. You always show and expose other design positions. Could this be collaboration, cooperation, a new business DNA? Is this something that would help to align schedules? And
talking about like we did really a lot of collaboration in of all kind. We collaborated with students. We collaborated with a lot of different brands, from Acris to Nehera, and from Wunderkind to Anne-Valerie Asche. I don't know, a lot, and we had a lot of. This was kind of design collaborations. We had a lot of collaborations for our visual presentation and campaigns for photographers, artists, and so on. So, in fact, like the general motive to do all these kind of collaborations is just because we want to keep open to the world. I mean, I don't think so much about business talking in all these collaborations. So because I don't remember one which has turned out to be a real huge business for us. But in total, I think like, if you like all these kind of collaborations turned out to be maybe also one of the key points, one of the DNA points of Mühlbauer. Also in the communication, because we are an organism like of many people, and a living organism, and who is communicating to the outer world. And all these collaborations I think, have been doing quite a lot to communicate an open image of Mühlbauer, which actually we wanted to do, which we intended also.
Tomaso, cooperation, your current position with Thom Browne, does it play a role? And how about the idea of cooperation with your prior clients?
Sorry, what did you say?
Cooperation in your current position at Thom Browne, how is it?
So you mean collaborations and things like that? Well, the most important thing is that at Thom Browne, as it used to be when I was at Prada, for example, we look at requests for collaboration with one key question in mind, which is, would this enhance the value of the brand in the eye of our consumers or the outside world, the fashion community, or is this something which is going to take away a little bit of brand equity? And if we believe that the partnership is enhancing the value of the brand, then we engage with the partner. If we don't, we just don't do it. With these brands, actually, we've been mostly reactive. We haven't had to be, a lot of creativity internally to think about, oh, we would like to cooperate with this or that. With Thom Browne, we've been lucky enough that, Football Club Barcelona came to us asking if we wanted to dress the team. Right. LeBron James came to us asking if we wanted to dress the team going for the playoffs of the Cavaliers. Samsung came to us and asked us if we wanted to do a mobile phone and a few other things. And when we looked at all these things, and some of them may look a little bit outside of a luxury space. I remember more than 10 years ago when we did at Prada a collaboration with LG. And we came out with the mobile phone with LG. And a lot of people were saying, oh my God, you're Prada collaborating with the consumer electronics brand, from Korea. But the truth of the matter was that the reason why we decided to do it was because we liked the product. We put a lot of time and effort to work on the product. And the product was the first touch screen phone before the iPhone. So that was 11 years ago. So we came out 2 months before Apple with the touch screen phone. And the product was beautiful, because it wasn't just sticking a logo on the phone, but it was working on everything from the packaging to the user experience. The font we changed all the colors. We did it, when you open the phone was everything in black and white. So the key thing is the collaboration makes sense if there is integrity, if there is something that makes sense for both brands, if both brands' consumers who are passionate about both brands look at the collaboration and think, oh, that's a good thing. It's unexpected and the product is great. If there isn't that, then I don't think it should be done. So that is, again, when I think collaborations that are born out of marketeers just for marketing, shelf space or visibility or maybe the dollars, it really doesn't make sense.
Okay. I get the sign from Andreas that we run out of time. But before we end the talk today, I would both of you like to ask about recommendation for brands here in Vienna, for small brands in Vienna, how to find a space. And is this a time maybe also for small brands to rise, to use COVID as a chance?
Klaus, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, I think maybe, I'm not sure if it's different, if this question can be answered differently to the now in the COVID period that compared to the period before. But I would say like what we all should do, and also maybe what people could do who start a new business, is really concentrate and develop on your core competencies. I mean, I had a moment in the last in the COVID period when I thought of my business in the last 2 years, 3 years, and I for example, one of my thoughts was we have been really rotating around online marketing. So my work day, even if I'm not a specialist in online marketing, and we hired online marketing specialists in the company for that purpose, but still all our company was rotating about marketing Mühlbauer in an online way. And then when COVID came and the shutdown came, I had a moment. I said, I didn't want to have a look at Instagram anymore. When I opened Instagram, I was always feeling sick, and I didn't want to go to Facebook anymore. I didn't even want to see our own online shop anymore. I was really tired, and that was the moment where I think, what is your mission? What is your basic task? And what people expect you, and this is to make nice hats. And and therefore I said maybe the most important thing is don't keep with your main idea, whatever it is, in fashion, with your design, with your product, with your shoe, with your bag, but keep with the competence you feel strongest with and develop it. You can never stand still. You always have to develop and adapt your thoughts, your product to the world. But I would say, this is what I could recommend, is really concentrate and develop your core competencies.
Tomaso.
Yeah, of course, I agree with Klaus 100%. In fashion, you need to have a strong point of view. In fashion, in art, in any creative profession area, you need to have a strong point of view. If you don't have that, then it's a problem. If you do have it, then stick to it. Tom Brown always says to us when we propose things, he says, listen, guys, we can do anything we want as long as we do it our own way. So you have to do things your own way. Then one issue is that for young people or young brands to emerge, they have to look for curators. And those curators now are more difficult to find because they used to be the department stores and the multi-brand stores, and now they're suffering a lot. And they used to be the magazines, and they also suffer a lot. Influencers on social media do not really have the depth and the culture and the ability to be a real curator like magazines and department stores used to do. So it is important to find those people who are the ones who introduce novelty to the audiences that can understand. Obviously, there is a grapevine that helps emerging talents to be recognized, but that is a very small community. If you want to reach a wider audience of potential customers, then you need those curators who are the ones who tell, there's always going to be the forward-looking people who queue for hours to buy the iPhone 2 hours before anybody else. But then, you need to reach the ones who need the validation of somebody else, who say, listen, buy this pair of shoes or this hat or this skirt or this, whatever, because I'm telling you that is great, that is good, that has creativity, that is going to be something which will be more mainstream tomorrow. And those are difficult to find at this moment. The stores like Colette in Paris, for example, and the Barn is New York, and they're no longer there. So you have to find that. I'm sure there is somebody in Vienna that does this kind of thing, or entrepreneurs like Klaus who look for talent, for design talent, and there you can find opportunities. But otherwise, look for those curators.
Thank you so much, both. I don't know how to do the digital handshake, but it's great talking to you. Just my last statement, the show off is on until August 30 and can be visited again. So this is also good news to us. Tomaso, if ever you come to Vienna, we would happily guide you through the Klaus Fashionmanager.
Yeah, we'll have to get to know to you.
Yeah.
We can have
you have to
coffee.
Dankeschön.
Andreas, you will arrange it, no? Maybe.
Ciao.
Ciao, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Wir sehen uns nächste Woche wieder. Dann geht es um Mode und Technologie. Bis dahin, Bus e Baba.
Warte mal, wie heißt der? Elisabeth Ginthör. Noever-Ginthör. Elisabeth Noever-Ginthör. 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 Elisabeth Noever-Ginthör. Ginthör, oder? Elisabeth Noever-Ginthör. Und Elisabeth Noever-Ginthör. Das ist aber wirklich gemein. Noever-Ginthör. Okay.